French presidential candidate Francois Fillon says he will not drop out of the presidential race despite allegations of corruption. The former prime minister has been accused of paying his wife hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money for work she may not have done.
Only the vote and not a political judicial affair can stop me. I will not stop. I will not gonna withdraw my candidacy. I will go to the end because this is the democracy.
Let's get more on the story and speak to TRT World's editor-at-large, Craig Copetas, joining me in the studio. Craig, good to see you. That was a very, very defiant speech from Francois Fillon. We were expecting that he was going to be standing down.
Oh, well, he wasn't. You know, they don't call that shot behind us the maison sans fenêtre, the house without windows, for nothing. You never know what's going on in there. Fillon is a tough character. He's old school. He's kind of a Gaullist. And he realizes that this election, at the end of the day, is about two things. One, stopping Marine Le Pen of the far right, don't discount her, and also preventing the independent Emmanuel Macron from getting into that maison sans fenêtre. And the reason is if either of those two candidates get in there, they are not going to have enough deputies to pass any legislation. It is going to be 7 more years of chaos. And Fillon knows this. And even though some most recent polls, some 60% of his supporters wanted him to drop out, he's bullying on. And he's hoping that by the final round on May 7th, that he can convince a majority of the French public that he's the only one who can bring real and needed change to France.
Craig, give us some background to this, because the reason he ended up in this position was because of those allegations against him and his wife.
Right.
So there was pressure on him to step down. Presumably that hasn't gone away. So what happens next?
Well, it's now in the hands of a magistrate who can actually throw these charges out the window and in a garbage can. And what this magistrate is actually looking into is whether his wife and his children actually did what you and I would call real work, or did they just show up and have a cup of coffee? Because what Fillon did, most recent survey show that 1 out of 6 of the 572 representatives in that place behind us use what's called the dosage, which is pay friends and family to come in and maybe do some work. But how do you define work? So that's what this magistrate is actually looking at.
So talk us through the impact this might have on his competitors. You've mentioned, of course, Marine Le Pen, and there are others, of course. He was ahead in the polls, but this might not work to his advantage anymore.
You cannot trust the polls in France anymore. My stock line has been, you can trust the anti-pollution software on a Volkswagen diesel car more than a French poll. And what's going on in France right now is too many people are discounting Marine Le Pen. Now, what Fillon has not done, Fillon knows that Le Pen can win because she's attracting a lot of the youth vote. She's attracting a lot of the elderly vote, particularly from former socialists, elderly socialists. And this is going to shock you. But a lot of the people in the banlieue, where a lot of the North Africans live, the Muslims live, they're actually supporting Marine Le Pen. This is how crazy it's become. And you actually have a Trump effect there at the same time. Remember during the US elections, everyone said Trump is not going to win, and the polls show this. And that was based on the reality that they asked people, are you going to vote for Trump? And they were too embarrassed to say yes. We're seeing the same dynamic at work in France.
And that is very much what Marine Le Pen is relying on.
Exactly.
Not long to wait. Now, Craig, when are those elections?
Okay, we have the first round at the end of April and then the final round on May 7th.
Many thanks for that. Editor-at-large Craig Copetas there for us.